Hi everyone, this is Faceless, not Valueless. Thank you so much for tuning in again. Today I have a very special video for y'all, and I think this would be a continuation of the other video I posted a long time ago about the narcissist and grief. This is gonna be very hard to talk about, but I guess someone might relate. There has to be someone that can relate to this because it's something that happens a lot in toxic families, especially with the narcissist. So I have a story time for you. So go ahead and grab your coffee, your tea, and your snacks because it's going to be a long video. So today I want to talk to you about the last time I went to a funeral. I talk about this not to be negative. These are real things that happen in real life. Many people do not like to talk about things that are uncomfortable, and I'm willing to do so. I think that's also one of the reasons why I've always been kind of like a black sheep in my family. I've always stood up for myself. I have always confronted people who do bad things, and I don't have a lot of friends because I am the type of person that if I see something wrong, I will talk about it. I will not gloss over it. And unfortunately, being a black sheep will make you feel very lonely in life, not only in your family, but at work, or even in a group setting, you know? So I just wanted to start saying this. This is not something that I listen or see a lot on the internet when it comes to narcissism, about death and funeral. But I will continue to talk about this because it's important. Because every person who has dealt with a narcissistic parent or a narcissistic guardian or family member, this will be something that affects you. Like, people don't understand how difficult it is to grieve when you have people in your life, non-individuals, that are just so keen on making your life miserable. So with that being said, I will talk to you about first of all, my auntie, may she rest in peace. My auntie, she was a great woman. She unfortunately also suffered abuse from the narcissistic male parent. And she would often be bullied and ridiculed at times, and even verbally abused. I will go into more details about how a narcissist can destroy so many lives. This person has destroyed so many lives that I am so in shock how one person can have the control of many. My auntie was one of the best people that I've ever known. She was like a mother figure to me, second mother figure. She did everything she could to keep me and my sibling okay. Well, we used to live in her house for many years until I was in, I believe, 7th grade. I moved out and then moved to another apartment with my family, but we lived rent-free in her house. We actually, when I say we, I mean my sibling and I, we grew up in that house, and I still consider it as my childhood home, regardless of how many times I moved after 7th grade. For me, it'll always be my house. So when it comes to the connection that I had to this person, I would say that it felt natural. It never felt faked or forced. She was funny. She was one of these people that would do anything to make you feel okay. But unfortunately, I could see how sometimes she would get run over or taken advantage of because of her kindness. Sometimes when the narcissist has money problems, they often go to the person that's kind-hearted and try to convince them to, to if they can borrow some money from them. And usually people will say yes. And the narcissist might pay back the money, but it's really a strange situation, guys, because just because a narcissist pays back a family member and keeps doing it continuously, I feel like that's almost like a sort of a financial abuse situation. So for many years, this woman has helped me and my sibling go to school, make sure that we have money for field trips, food on the table, that we could get transportation to doctor's appointments. Always supportive in our endeavors, whether it was painting, music, dancing, piano, whatever it is that we were involved, she would always be there contributing, whether financially, paying for lessons, or transportation, moral support, a smile, a hug, anything. I really admire that. And so unfortunately, she had a tumor in her brain. And there's so much more to the story, but I want to stick to what I want to address about the funeral and the narcissistic toxic behaviors during that time. There is a reason why she was not treated quickly. So it just kind of stayed in her brain and never grew. It never shrank. It just stayed the same size in her brain. And so her health became, she deteriorated pretty much. But she was strong for 2 years. For 2 years, she did the best that she could to stay strong and healthy. And that is a long time for someone to survive with a brain tumor. So she passed away in 2020. And when I got the news, she was still living with another narcissist that is highly toxic and abusive still. I do not live with this person, and I am addressing my grandmother. So my auntie used to live with her, and then she passed away. I got news of it. And so I decided that I wanted to go to the funeral, go back to my country and pay my respect and honor to her and say goodbye to her one final moment, not only for myself to gain, closure in my heart, but also to show respect that I was there for her and to send her off in a respectful way, because that is what she really deserves, honestly. So this is what happened, guys. I decided to go to the funeral. I didn't have any money. I made a lot of financial gymnastics in order to gain the money. And by that, I mean convincing the bank to give me to, raise my credit limit, and also paying tickets in faith and just hoping for the best. I have a crazy story, but anyways, the narcissist really was mad at me for deciding to go back home for the funeral, because he told me that I shouldn't in the first place. I'm talking about a man who benefited from this woman for years, even before I was born and even before my sibling was born. Okay? So this woman gave so many things to us that the least we could do was show our respect at her funeral. And because the narcissistic grandmother who sexually abused me and my other family members, like my cousins, my sibling, was gonna be there. He was afraid because he didn't want to confront the family. He didn't want to, it's gonna sound so cowardish. Well, it is. He just didn't want to contact them because he already burned so many bridges with the family. And I understand that you might not have like agreements with certain people, but that doesn't mean you have to treat them a certain way. Very hypocritical, if I can say, beyond, on his behalf, because he would criticize other people, but then he would treat his own children like shit. And so I was received with a sermon upon my declaration of my decision. So I was basically told many things during more than an hour. I was told that I shouldn't go, that it's not safe. Who am I going to be with? No one's going to take me in. How am I going to get transportation? Because I don't drive. I don't have a license. And that people in that family are evil. And I'm talking about my maternal side of the family, okay? This is my narcissistic male parent talking. And he's like, why are you doing this? You're not supposed to go to the funeral. The only funeral you can attend is my funeral. And I said, no, that's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. The fear, the irrational fear of the narcissist, of wanting to control someone. Do you really understand how this is used to control victims? Grief. When there is grief in the family, you are vulnerable. And that is a way where narcissists can convince you that if you follow their instructions, you're going to be okay. What I'm explaining to you is a very abstract concept, very vague, because I do not know how this can apply to your situation. I'm just telling you how it applied to mine. So the fact that the narcissist was using grief again, remember the video I made about not being allowed to go to my grandfather's burial? I'm not talking about the wake where you see where the casket is open. No, I'm talking about the burial. I was not allowed to do that as a child, but I was allowed to go to the funeral. Now, as an adult, I was not allowed to go to my auntie's funeral. I still went, of course. I really, at that point, I think that was one of the bravest decisions I've ever made in my life, to take a plane by myself and go back home and pay the respect that she deserved, So another thing that I do want to tell you guys is about the money aspect. So I wanted to continue this recording. I had to stop, but I'm back. I want to continue and talk about the financial aspect when there's a funeral in the family. In a toxic family, if it's a not rich family to say so, then there's always going to be money problems. And the excuse of not going because there's no money is something that you will hear a lot. I was not surprised by this, but at the same time, I was angry. If these non-individuals cannot even show up to the funeral of someone who did so much for them, so much support and love and money and so many other things, then a birthday is nothing to them. A graduation is nothing to them. An anniversary is nothing to them, because to them, these non-individuals, the only thing the only thing they think about is how they look, what they will wear, the people that are going to be there. And if they cannot impress those people, then they don't want to be there in the first place. And also to avoid any drama, because in the deep core of the narcissist, they are cowards. They do not confront things. They run away from things. And I was highly criticized. This is not the first time I've been criticized and marginalized in my family for making the bold decision of going. And I was broke. I was so broke when I went. But I had my sibling who helped me figure out some things. So I am grateful for that. I was able to meet with certain people in the family. They treated me very well. And other details that I don't want to go into. But there was never a fight. And there was nothing really that big of a deal. The only thing that I do remember, though, let me rephrase this. Actually, yes. I do remember one time, and I'm switching from my father to my grandmother, okay? So when I was at the funeral with the casket open, okay, I always make that distinction because there are people listening to me from other countries that they have different traditions when it comes to funerals. In some places, you don't have an open casket. So I'm making this distinction. So when I was at the funeral, family members would come up to me while I was grieving and crying and just paying my respects and expressing my deepest sadness to the person that I lost, that I considered as a second mother. They would come up to me and ask me, how is your family doing? How are you doing? You came alone? Or you came with a boyfriend? Or are you married? And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm crying right now in a funeral home building. Leave me alone. And then they would ask me, how are you going back to your hotel? You don't have a ride, right? And at that moment, I literally had to step back from the casket and say, listen, you want to talk about this? We talk about it in the lobby, not in here. Don't do this here. This is disrespectful. Now, you would think that, well, they didn't, I don't, here's the thing. There's a time and place for everything. And the narcissists, they don't care because they're over the death of the person. That's why they're so relaxed in the funeral. Like, I understand that some people might have expected it to happen, but not me. I was not with her in her final moments. And every person who has been good and decent to me in my life are dead. My grandfather and my auntie. The two people who made my life hell are still alive. I wish them well. I don't want anything bad to happen to them because I know that life takes care of that in its own way. And I do believe God will take care of that in its own way. I have my boundaries and everything. I don't let these people contact me in ways that I can be shaken or stressed out. I don't let that happen. It's always funerals. It's always this thing. I don't know what it is, guys, with funerals. But the narcissist, is like they have a microchip activated inside of them and they just go overboard. I'm very disappointed that people still think that this is normal behavior. Because it's not. It's not. And I'm angry because we as empaths and we as survivors and thrivers, always confuse that word for some reason. We have good people in our lives and they pass away. And it's always the people who abuses us that are still there. Doing the same mistakes, repeating the same patterns, abusing the same people, doing the same things, and their life doesn't indicate any type of change. So, during funerals, make sure to expect to be disappointed. If you're going back to your state, to your country, to your city, whatever, where you grew up, I don't care. If you go back and you have that type of family setting where it's just that really makes you want to puke, I'm going to tell you guys something. You have to expect to be disappointed. Always. When it comes to if you still choose to have interaction with these people for some reason or another, because every situation is different, right? Listen. Stop living in a fairy tale. These people won't even change at a funeral. That says a lot about a person. And the fact that people who are supposed to care for you don't even contribute for money for the funeral. My auntie was a wise woman. This is what she did. She saved the money, put it in her account, and when she passed away, the only thing the family had to do was to take that money from that account of her bank account, and pay for the funeral expenses. It's not like she had already everything arranged, but at least she had the money. So someone else could do the arrangements in a day and then pay it. How about that, guys? How about that? Like, at this point, I am no longer disappointed, or I should not say disappointed. At this point, I'm no longer surprised at what the narcissist is capable of doing. It's really disgusting and terrifying to be around people that they just, for some reason or another, think that they have a hall pass in life. And also, I feel like a lot of narcissists that are older, like really old, they also think they have a pass in life because they're old. You don't get a pass because you're old. You don't get a pass because you feel like it's okay to treat others disrespectfully and leave a legacy of destruction and abuse and debt and grief and chaos and confusion. You don't get a pass in life. So at this moment, I'm thinking, what should I do? Should I go on with the plans that I had with arranging the funeral of the narcissist parent? Should I leave it to someone else, or should I just not do anything about it? Because I also am concerned about my family's debt situation. I'm the only one in the family who cares about these things. Leave me your thoughts down below and let me know if this helped you. I hope to talk to you again soon.